His disciples went out to get food. He's left by himself. Now imagine the reason you go out to get food, and most times is because you're hungry. Except in our culture. We go because it's there. But in Jesus' culture, he's tired, he's hungry, he's alone, he's sitting on the well, but he's willing to override that fact and start to minister, start initiating a conversation when this lady shows up. He wasn't waiting for somebody else to do it. He wasn't waiting and saying, well, once my disciples get back, then I'll be able to talk to her. Once everything falls into place and everything is lined up, then I'll be able to talk to this woman. No, he said, she's here right now. The opportunity is here right now. I am here to minister to this woman. And he began to initiate a conversation. Give me something to drink. How often do we wonder whether we'll be able to minister or not because we're hungry? You know, I would really like to do this, but it's like 10 to 12, and in 10 minutes, you know, then, it's not 10 to 12, it's quarter to. But, you know, in 10 minutes, it's going to be lunchtime, and I don't know if I start this right now, then it's going to interfere with my lunch, you know, and I would like to talk to these people, but man, it's almost time for lunch, or my wife will have supper ready, or if I do this, it's going to end up, and we allow our stomach to dictate very often what we're willing to do or not. Instead of going out and ministering when we sense the Lord calling us, we will allow our stomach to dictate. And yet Jesus had the maturity to override the fact that he was hungry. He overrode the fact that he was tired. Well, yeah, we would like to go, but you know, we work 8 hours a day. Why would the pastor expect us to do something in the church in the evening? Doesn't he know that I'm working a full-time job? Jesus could have sat there and said, Father, I just walked 30 miles. I'm hungry. I'm tired. I need a rest. Send somebody else to go talk to this woman. And he would have been within his rights, probably. But he was mature. He looked past the fact, and he began to initiate a conversation. Verse 9. Then saith the woman of Samaria to him, how is it that thou, being a Jew, askest drink of me, which am a woman of Samaria? For the Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans. This shows us how out of the ordinary this step was. This woman is taken aback. Why are you talking to me? You guys have nothing to do with us. You think we're dogs. Why are you talking to me? What makes you step out of your comfort zone? Why have you approached me? You guys don't like us. There's prejudices on both sides. You know, often our prejudices from other people will stop us from stepping out. Oh, well, those people are so much better educated than me. They won't want to hear anything that I'm saying. Oh, well, those are people, you know, they live in this really nice house. What am I ever going to tell them? And we allow those prejudices to stop us from reaching out to people when they need the power of God. And that's what this woman did to shut him down. You're a Jew. Why are you talking to me? You're better than I am. You think you're better than I am. Now, had Jesus allowed it, that prejudice would have stopped him, but he had the maturity to continue to push on. So Jesus answered and said, if you knew the gift of God, and who it is that saith to give you to drink, thou wouldst have asked of him, and he would have given thee living water. So the woman said unto him, Sir, thou hast nothing to draw with, the well is deep. From whence hast thou this living water? Are you greater than our father Jacob, which gave us the well, drank there himself, his children, his cattle? And Jesus answered and said unto her, whosoever drinks of this water shall thirst again. But whosoever drinks of the water that I shall give him shall never thirst. The water that I shall give him shall be a well of water, springing up into everlasting life. And the woman said unto him, Sir, give me this water, that I thirst not, neither come hither to draw. The first thing Jesus does is he addresses her in an area of need. She is coming to this well. She's been coming to this well to draw water. She's had to draw and bring it up. And he starts addressing her on the area of need. She needs the living water, which only he can give. But he refuses to get drawn into a religious battle with her. Right away she said, well, are you greater than our father Abraham, our father Jacob? He gave us this well. He this, he that. He refuses to get sidelined by the religious differences, and he starts focusing rather on her need. When she starts saying, well, who's greater? Are you greater than our Father? He stays focused on the fact that this woman he is speaking to needs to come into a relationship with the true and the living God. Now, there's many times when you start addressing someone on subjects pertaining to their eternal salvation, they will try to divert your attention. We talked about last week, one of the first tricks the enemy will use is distraction. To try and distract, try and take you away. When you start talking to people about things returning to eternal salvation, you will often find them trying to distract you in all sorts of peripheral issues. Yeah, well, I used to go to church, but the church that I went to, it doesn't matter. So what? That's not the issue. We're not going back into what used to be. We're dealing with you right now. Yeah, well, I had family members, and they said they this and they that. That's still not the issue. We're talking to you right now with what's going on in your life at this point, and these are the issues that we want to address. Yeah, well, if it's the church, then why has there been so much strife in the church? The churches have been fighting with each other. The churches, they all think they're the right way. It doesn't matter what they think. What matters is what is happening in your heart and what is the Spirit of God trying to do in your life right now. Get your eyes off of everybody else and start looking rather at what God is trying to speak to you. That's right. And that's exactly what this woman is doing. She starts trying to go all different directions. And Jesus keeps bringing it back to the things that are important to her. That she needs to have the importance of. Everybody knows somebody that is not a good example in the body of Christ. Amen? Everybody knows somebody who did something wrong or who failed. Whether Jacob was greater or not was not going to change the fact that this woman needed to meet the true and the living God. Now, Jesus knew at this point that he was an ambassador for God. He knew that he had been entrusted with a ministry of reconciliation. And he continues to share the truth with her that he has come to bring. And in verse 16, Jesus said to her, "Go, call your husband and come here." And the woman answered and said, "I have no husband." Jesus said to her, "You have said well, I have no husband, for you have had 5 husbands, and he whom you now have is not your husband. So in that you said truly." Well, this just shows us a little bit more about the barriers that Jesus had to overcome to minister to this woman. This wasn't some nice little lady that sat at home doing needlework. Obviously. This woman was not only divorced, she was divorced 5 times and was now living common law. Our society today would look at a person like this and say, they're beyond help. Under the law, she could have been stoned. Now, Jesus was the full new covenant coming into effect, but he was living under the law. He had to minister under the old covenant. Under the old covenant, this woman would have been stone fodder in Jerusalem. Now don't look so surprised. Jesus had the Pharisees come to him with a woman that was caught in the very act of adultery, and they wanted her stoned. They said, "What do you say?" So here was a woman that was not living a life that most people of the day would have considered to be a very appropriate life. This was a woman that had 5 different husbands. She was now living common law, and Jesus continues to address her, continues to speak to her. He would have been fully justified. He could have felt fully justified to try and destroy any semblance of dignity that this woman had with gossip or slander. Now, in the modern day, I would see a lot of Christians would have gone, "Oh." Then the disciples would have come back, "Oh, you won't believe who I met." And they would have immediately had to get on the phone, and they would have had to spend spreading the life of what this woman had all been through with all of their friends, all done in the name of concern, of course. But they would have had to try and explain to him what a lousy woman they had come into contact with, what a horrible person she was. And yet Jesus turns around and he has has no judgment. He has no condemnation. He is here to open the doors of heaven to anyone that wants to come. And he is not put off. He's not turned away. He continues to minister. He says, you're right. You didn't have you don't have a husband. You already had 5, and the man